Yes, everybody that is tuned in, what is going on? Welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV. Again, I'm still getting used to that myself, but we will explain why the name has changed in due course. Welcome back. Hello. Once again, you're with the two newbies, if you can still call us that. If you want to call that. And we will be 2 secs. I've just got a weird rerun on there. Sorry, that's me listening to the YouTube. Hello. There we go. That's better. Right then, we are back. I'm here with Kwaku. Kwaku, how are you?
I'm all good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, all good. Apologies for that, guys. That was totally my fault. We're all good. We were just talking in the lobby before this. We will, of course, talk about the FA Cup loss. And again, also commiserations to the Chelsea women on their 4-0 defeat yesterday. But hopefully Emma and her girls will also be back stronger, like I hope we will be tomorrow. But we'll talk about that for a little bit, but we did just have a conversation between us two. We're not going to wallow too much in the self-pity aspect because I myself, along with Kwaku, and I'm sure all of you guys are probably relatively tired already of us being a bit too defeatist as time goes by. Yes, it was a tough defeat to take, and we will talk about that for 5 or 10 minutes, but then we'll move on to tomorrow's game and for the rest of the season, because I think we all need to realise that we are all still in this together and we need to be proud and happy of what we've achieved thus far. Yes, it was a hard hit to take, but we'll get on to that. So, Kwaku, I'll just discuss, did we play poorly or did Leicester deserve it, really? Are we not giving them enough credit?
I think within the whole spectrum of the weekend and how the things went, I don't think Chelsea fans are giving Leicester enough credit. The result was a culmination of a lot of hard work from Leicester, a lot of hard work that's been documented over the last few days in terms of how the owners have treated the fans and how they've gone about building this team, how Jamie Vardy stayed loyal, how they've gone and scouted great players. And the goal that was scored against us was by a great player that they scouted, a player that a lot of these top 6 clubs didn't look at properly and didn't seize on the opportunity to sign. And Tielemans, it was a great goal. A lot of Chelsea fans, including myself, probably deep down believed that if we had our first choice keeper in goal in Mendy, he probably would have saved that. But the fact of the matter are that Kepa's played every round of the FA Cup and he's our cup keeper, so we can't really moan too much about that. He scored. Tielemans scored one of the best goals in FA Cup final history. And we feel like VAR went against us, but if we're to believe that the technology is correct, that was a correct decision. So I feel like Leicester haven't been given enough credit from Chelsea fans, but in terms of the wider world of football, there are a lot of credits been headed Leicester's way.
Absolutely. And it is, I'm like you as well. I think it is easier, not to scapegoat, but it's a very common thing for us to say, oh, if Mendy was in goal, he would have saved that. But firstly, I don't think, I need to stop as well because I do get heated in the moment and then realise I've been a bit silly, which is fair enough, like we all do. But literally, you just go, if he did save it, it was a fantastic strike. So you never know. It is another thing for us to contemplate, of course. I do also think overall across the whole pitch, there was some strange choices. I understand with the Reece James at RCB instead of wing back to sort of contest against Vardy's pace. And if you really want to look at it for the whole grand scheme of things, the defensive side of it worked quite well because the two main ballers you wanted to stop scoring were Kelechi and Vardy going up front. And they were essentially non-existent for a lot of the game. And then it just took that one lapse in judgment and that lapse in focus. And it's just unfortunately gone like that. There were people, you've got people blaming Jorginho, you've got people blaming Thiago Silva, Reece James for doing the poor pass, Kepa for being too short. All of those things, like no matter what it comes down to, it was just, as a team performance, it was pretty poor. We should have at least had the game dead and buried. Our strikers, they weren't as prolific as they can be. I think it was just all round not our day, to be perfectly honest. And if you want to judge it on that split second of judgment and not closing down, I think that's a bit unfair for the entire team because I think they all need to take as much credit for the loss as the goalkeeper, the defenders do in that sort of sense.
100%. I believe that it's a collective effort and it's very, very easy to point fingers when things don't go right for you. A lot of things have gone right for us since Tuchel's taken over. So I think it's time for us to maybe sit back, collect ourselves. These are 2 important losses in a row. I get that. But credit has to be given to Leicester. We have to understand that it just wasn't our day. Things went against us. Of course, there was selection issues in terms of, maybe Chilwell not starting and then Reece James and Aspie switching. I think maybe memories of our loss to Arsenal last year, where Aspie got burnt and he pulled his hamstring. Probably was like burnt on the memories of the Chelsea coaching staff, and maybe that was one of the reasons for the switch, because in those half spaces, Vardy could cause us problems. So I do understand it, and if that goes right and we get the win in that game, say Chilwell goal stands, and we go into win the game in normal time or extra time, that's viewed as a tactical genius by Tuchel. But unfortunately, it didn't. Schmeichel pulled off a couple of worldy saves. And that's just football. The worrying trend is that in finals or in big games recently, we haven't come out with the right result. And I can understand why a lot of Chelsea fans are grabbing onto that. But the tide will turn eventually. These are tight games that can go either way. We were used to the Chelsea era where those tight games were decided by a striker like Didier Drogba, who would turn up and change the game for us. And right now we haven't got that. And I feel like that's indicative of the biggest issue at Chelsea. And although people want to give Timo Werner credit for stretching your position and doing whatever he does to contribute to the team overall, if you've got a £50 million striker that's not scoring your goals, you're going to struggle to win the big games. So I think that's the biggest problem about Chelsea at the moment.
Absolutely. Again, guys, so like we said, we will not divulge too much into this, but we'll just talk about it ever so slightly more. I want to bring the aspect up of Ben Chilwell, because he's obviously, everyone knows that logged in, he is my favourite player. And I think it was ridiculous that he didn't start over Alonso purely for he came on and had already performed. And of course, he was the unfortunate player. I mean, I don't think we would call it his goal when it did eventually go in, because there was a bit of a fumble in the box, but it was a fantastic run nevertheless. And that was something pace-wise, at least, Alonso didn't have. And I'm not saying he had a poor game, but I think in the terms of the quality that Ben Chilwell has been producing in games that he has started and quickly, I think it was not a tactical faux pas, but more so it was a bit of an error in game management compared to Leicester, because I do understand how it would have worked against Man City, and of course it did with him getting the late winner, but defensively he is just not there, and there were quite a few threats coming in from both sides. And I think, you know, again, we saw Aspie without the legs, and the balls into the final third of Leicester weren't good enough, whereas if you had Reece and Aspie in the regular positions, yes, there might have been a bit more of a worry of the pace of Jamie Vardy being attacked. But, you know, we just lacked that final third yet again. And I think that was the main thing that cost us.
Yeah, no, 100%. That lack of clinical edge at the final third of the pitch is what cost us, and a couple of worldy saves from Schmeichel. With Chelsea right now, I feel like when we take the lead, I back us to keep it. We've got something to protect. But when we go 1-0 down, I feel like all Chelsea fans have in the back of their heads is like, have we got enough to really break this opposition down, especially when they go into a low block? Because we saw Pulisic warming up before Tielemans scored that worldie. And I was calling for him to come on maybe at half time for Ziyech, because Ziyech didn't really have much for them. But as soon as Leicester scored that goal, I'm like, well, Pulisic and Werner's effectiveness on this game is basically going to be null and void, because there's going to be no space in behind for them to operate. Leicester are going to drop maybe 5 or 6 yards further deep, and Pulisic's ability to get in behind, as well as Werner's ability to get in behind, is not going to be as effective. So them scoring that goal, the time they scored that goal, really, really affected us. And we've got to be wary of that going forward. And that's why we need a striker to take chances, so they give us the lead. Because when teams sit deep, like Arsenal did and like Leicester did, we struggle to break them down.
Absolutely. And I do think as well, it was the sort of FA Cup no one wants to lose mentality, which we see sort of year in, year out, really, even if Chelsea aren't in it. The first 45 to 55 minutes of an FA Cup is relatively pretty dull, because that people aren't taking as much risks as they would do, because they know if the risk isn't capitalised upon, then they might look the idiot and then be the player that makes their team go 1-0 down. And I think Leicester's game plan was all along, you score that one goal and you defend. And I refuse to believe that our tactic wouldn't have been similar if it was the other way around. I just think it went against us. And as frustrating as it was to play against Leicester, you had Kasper Schmeichel, who I think he had a chat with his dad before, because he was pulling off some worldy saves. I can't remember who headed it. I think it was Alonso, the one where he just brushed it onto the post.
Yeah, it was either Alonso.
Chilwell or Alonso came in for that clash. Yeah, and then the Mount volley. I mean, both of them 99% of the time are two pretty decent goals. But Kasper
Yeah.
Schmeichel's had an absolute worldie. And I'm not being funny. As a Chelsea fan, I've got absolutely no affiliation or beef with Leicester City. I think they thoroughly deserved it. I'm quite a big fan of Brendan Rodgers as not only a manager, but I think he carries himself quite well. I think the team, given their recent history with their owner and stuff, who tragically passed away, I think they deserved it more than most. And if it wasn't Chelsea winning it, I'm glad it's them.
Man, you've summed that up perfectly. I agree with that, man. Especially in the midst of the fallout of the whole Super League saga, and Leicester being one of those teams that weren't in it. Maybe they weren't invited to it. Maybe they were. It would have been a different story. But they weren't in it, and they won the Premier League within the last 5 years. And they've just won an FA Cup, and they've done it the right way. And everybody wants to get attached to the idea of football. When they talk about real football, they want it to be players from their academy that are really championing the team. But Leicester are an example of a modern, multicultural football team. It's a melting pot of people from different places around the world. Their owners from a certain place, their players from certain places. Jamie Vardy's from Sheffield, and it's a perfect melting pot of a football team, and they really represent what modern football should be. So, like you say, if it was going to be a team that wins it, I'm glad that it was Leicester. If it wasn't going to be us,
exactly. And on the last topic of this, just to make it a bit more whimsical and fun, let's talk about Tammy Abraham's girlfriend coming in with the Instagram post, and Tuchel has come out and addressed it. Not in a whimsical way. He wasn't sort of like digging anybody out or anything. But what do you think of that? Of course, it's her own personal frustration with being Tammy Abraham's other half. But why no Tammy even on the bench? And Tuchel's not excuse, but his reasoning was, they played Werner as a number 9, and then having 3 number 9s on the bench seemed a bit silly. But when you think Timo Werner isn't strictly a number 9, why wouldn't you play Havertz or Giroud in the first place? And Tammy Abraham is still, if not the top goal scorer, he's our joint goal scorer of our team. And as much as he may not be world class, he may not be offering as many things as Werner and Havertz, or maybe even Giroud. But why would someone that's helped us get this far not even get a look in? Do you think?
I have no idea, and it's a common theme of Chelsea this season in terms of players' wives or girlfriends coming out and having a little dig. We saw Thiago Silva's missus do it before, and obviously she's just venting us frustration, and that's, I assume, how Tammy feels as well. It doesn't really make much sense because, correct me if I'm wrong, was Emerson on the bench for us against Leicester? Because
I have to check, but keep going and I will check.
Because if Emerson's on, I'm pretty sure he was. And if Emerson's on the bench and we've got Marcus Alonso starting, Tuchel's argument in terms of having Well, we've got Alonso, we've got Ben Chilwell, and we've got Emerson in the same squad. Why do you need 3 left-sided defenders in the team? I feel like something must have happened there with Tammy, because I don't feel like that's a valid excuse. Why is Emerson on the bench and Tammy Abraham's not? It doesn't really make much sense. And what I've attached myself to in terms of Chelsea, and the reason why Kepa gets a run out, the reason why Emerson's in the squad, and the reason why Marcus Alonso gets a run out is because we want to maintain the value of those players. So if we do have to shift them in the summer, they attain or ascertain some value. But with Tammy Abraham, I don't understand it, because he's a young British striker who's a proven goal scorer in the Premier League. And the fact that he's not even in the squad devalues him massively. So if we do try to shift him in the summer, or if he does want to leave, if a team like West Ham turns around and offers X amount, and we're like, we want Y, West Ham will just be like, no, because we know that he's not that valuable to you, because he wasn't even in the squad for the FA Cup final. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Because the reason why Kepa's playing, in my belief, is that if we try and shift him in the summer, I saw him in Lazio, we can try and recoup some of that 72 million that we paid for him. With Tammy Abraham, I believe he's a 40-50 million pound striker at least, like when he was in his pomp. And we're only going to get like 20 or 30 million for him, because we've devalued him as a striker. So I don't really get it. I don't really understand it, but it's just one of those mysteries, and it's almost like a similar thing that happened to Tomori at the back end of the top of Chelsea.
Absolutely. And so, having said that, guys, before we get on to the next subject, that's all we're going to do on the FA Cup final, because we're thinking positive for the rest of this chat, because not that was entirely negative, but we just want to wash our hands with it. We know what we did wrong, and hopefully we can rectify it in the next 24 hours. But before we do get on to the second Chelsea-Leicester game, do not forget to like and subscribe to this personal channel, which is now Chelsea Fan TV, if you haven't done so already. Hit the bell for recent updates and things like that. Follow myself and Kwaku on our respective Twitters and YouTube accounts and things like that, which are just in the bottoms of our screens here. So we'll now move on to tomorrow. So what do you think is the game plan for tomorrow? And we'll go into the starting 11 a little bit later. But what do you think in terms of just the overall gameplay? Because this is important for both of us now.
Yeah, this is crucial. This is crucial for Tuchel and our players, and it kind of will give us an indication of the mentality of the squad. This is a Leicester team that gave a lot in the final. This is a Leicester team that exerted a lot of not just physicality, but emotion in terms of the outpouring at the end of the game. It's a Leicester team that are probably celebrating a bit on the weekend. So this is a Leicester team that aren't going to come into this game at full strength in terms of where their mentality is going to be at, in terms of where they were, in terms of the decompression point of view. So we should really go and win this game. The onus is on us. We need to win it. We need to win this game, and it's a must win. And there's not been that many must wins this season, but this was one of them. Against Leicester on the weekend was one of them. This game is one of them, and the Champions League final is going to be one of them. And so I'm expecting to see our boys revved up. I'm expecting to see them with a lot of intensity. I think we're going to be quite aggressive in this game because I think Tuchel's going to get them wound up. I don't even think he needs to because the incentive is there already. It's like these boys beat us and turn us over on the weekend. Go out there and show them who the bosses are. So I'm expecting to see intensity from this Chelsea team, and I expect us to win this game.
Absolutely. I can't remember what team it was, but that sort of reminded me of when Liverpool had won the league and they wanted to do the sort of unbeatable thing, and then Watford came and smacked them 3-0, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Something like that. And but you don't think about it. You are completely right. They probably have been celebrating. They probably had 1, 2, 3, 4 too many or whatever. And their fitness will not be what it was on Saturday. And I'm not saying their focus won't be there, but they might. You could have an extra yard or two on them, depending on how heavy people have hit it. I'm assuming someone like Jamie Vardy, like he probably plays on a hangover most games, so he's not going to be affected by it. But you are absolutely right. Their heads wouldn't have completely gone, but they'll definitely be they will be a little less focused, I think. I think this might be a Timo Werner day. As much as he didn't perform on Saturday, I think maybe if he plays on the left or right rather than completely down the middle, we could actually see him at his best.
No, I completely agree. I feel like to get the best out of Timo Werner, we need to get an early goal, because the longer a game goes on, especially when playing an opposition that maybe have less quality than Chelsea, the further they sit deep. So it limits how effective Timo Werner can be in terms of space in behind. So I feel like with Chelsea, it would be almost perfect when Timo Werner's playing, get an early goal, and then you see the space in behind, because the other team actually have to come and play. So I don't know. With this game, I couldn't even begin to predict the team that we're going to go out with. But all I know is that there has to be an intensity there, and there has to be a bit of bite. And I want to see like passion from the players. I'm not saying that the weekend was a passionless performance, but I want to see players who are angry and disappointed and are hurt. I want us to be almost like wounded lions that kind of go out there and go and get what we deserve. So that's what I'm hoping from the game. Hopefully Timo Werner gets a goal. That's what all Chelsea fans are hoping for at the moment, because I don't want to call him a flop at the moment, because he's his first season at Chelsea and he has had some good moments, but he really needs to show up in these last few games of the season to kind of leave a good taste in people's mouths for next season, where he can really hopefully kick on.
Absolutely. And we've got a comment here saying, we're saying we need to get that early goal. And you're right. We haven't scored in 180 minutes, but we in those games, we conceded first, and then the other two teams, more so Arsenal, because we conceded so early, they parked the bus and we couldn't get through because as a lot of Chelsea broadcasters or YouTube makers have been saying, we at this point in time, because Tuchel's had so little time with us, 4 months is nothing realistically to have such a good turnaround. At this point in time, we have only got one style of play, and once that gets sussed out, it's quite difficult to find a new one if you haven't practiced with it. And I think we are, it is going to be tricky tomorrow, but we just got to figure it out. We got to get those little potholes. No player's perfect, but the little potholes in each player, you got to find them. And I think this is Werner's chance to prove himself. He was non-existent on Saturday, and that wasn't necessarily his fault because of the way we had set up, and you've once again put him in the position where there has been an abundance of proof that he does not work well there compared to him being slightly on the left or slightly on the right. So only Thomas Tuchel really can give us the complete rundown of exactly what his thought process was, but it didn't work. So for this one, I think it's just going to have to. It's not going to have to completely change. I think obviously Edouard Mendy is going to probably be in goal. And if Tielemans has a 30-yard strike, we'll see if he was the one that was going to save it or not, because that's realistic. That's realistic. The only way you can have a go at Kepa for that, because that's all. That's all just like, oh yeah, well, if I was in goal, like X, Y, Z, sort of thing like that. But what do you think Rodgers' mentality is? Because of course he's got an FA Cup, but he's already bottled. I say bottled. He had a bit of a nasty spell in the end of last season where they didn't get they didn't get European football, did they? Because of
they got Europa League. They missed out on Champions
League. Yes, they did. They missed out on Champions League, but only just. And they're actually, as it stands now, points wise, they are in the driving seat compared to the both of us. Would you play for a draw if you were Rodgers, or is it 3 points or nothing for him as well?
Oh well, they've got probably the toughest 2 fixtures to end the season. They've got us, and then they've got Spurs on Sunday. So he's going to have to go out there. A draw obviously would be a good result, but I think playing for a draw in modern football is very, very dangerous because things can switch like that. A VAR decision, or I don't know. It's just so difficult to play for a draw these days because there's so many variables involved in football. So I think they'll be playing for a win. Obviously, they're coming to the bridge, so naturally, when you're away from home, you have the inclination to maybe drop a little bit deeper than you would do when you're at home. But I'm expecting Leicester to come out there and try and win. But like I say, there's always that natural decompression that happens after you win a big game. And that's why it's always bizarre to play like an FA Cup final with league games remaining in the season, because you exert so much energy, so much emotion, so many interviews. And then you have to go and play a Premier League game afterwards. Both teams are going to be feeling the effects of that. But Leicester won the game, so they're going to have a few more sore heads than we would. I think the only sore heads on Chelsea side of things would be from the boys after Tuchel had a massive go at them after the game. So it's going to be an interesting approach from Rodgers. It's going to be interesting to see if he rotates. I'm just looking forward to seeing what the starting lineups would be, because I feel like from Chelsea's point of view, there's players that will come into the starting lineup like Kai Havertz, who I believe was in decent form before we played, and I was kind of surprised not to see him start against Leicester. So there's going to be rotation, I feel, but it will just be interesting to see the approach of both teams going into the game.
Absolutely. So with that sort of mindset as well, who do you think would be your... Okay, so are we in agreement Edouard Mendy starts tomorrow?
Has to. He's like, I feel like with Edouard Mendy, because with Chelsea, what happens with us is that we go for blockbuster signings. I don't think we'll ever be accused of not addressing our issues. Whenever Chelsea have got an issue, we go out there and address it. Whether it works or whether it doesn't work is a completely different matter. I feel like because the way we went and addressed the Edouard Mendy situation is we went and got this unheralded keeper for relatively low fee, so people weren't expecting the world. But if you look at Edouard Mendy's performances this season, maybe apart from Ederson and maybe you can throw Kasper Schmeichel into the mix, I don't think there's been a better keeper in the Premier League this season. I just feel like because he didn't come in for a massive fee and he wasn't massively heralded, he doesn't get the acclaim from both Chelsea fans and the bigger, wider world of football. So yeah, Edouard Mendy has to start. He's one of the best keepers in the Premier League.
Absolutely. There we go. And Fata, of course, no brainer. And guys, as we divulge into the outfield players, please do get involved. If you are desperate to get involved and you don't want me or Kwaku to miss the comments, do not forget the super chat and the super likes. But of course, if you do not want to, we do very much appreciate if you do. But if you want to have a conversation with us, please do. And I will try and click on the comments if I can see them. So let's go into let's call it back 3 for now. Let's call it a 3-4-3 for now, just for the sake of argument and ease. Back 3. Who would you go for?
Is Christensen still out?
I haven't seen any reports saying that he isn't.
Yeah.
So, and if not, I believe he'll. I don't know really. I mean, look, we've got 3 games left this season. They're all important. So if he is fit, I don't see any reason to rest him, because what are you resting for? There's 3 games left. But I haven't heard anything saying that he is fit enough. So for the sake of argument, let's say no.
Okay, so I've literally just had a little read there, and apparently him and Kovacic are in contention, but I don't know if that means they're going to start. So with the back 3, I would go Aspie, Thiago Silva, and Rudiger. What about you?
Aspie, Thiago Silva, Rudiger. Yeah, I can't really argue with that. And as we're getting onto the defenders, we've also got a regular on these chats. We've got Alex. How you doing, bro?
How you doing, boys? I'm good.
Good, Matt. Yeah, good. So, but you've missed nothing. We had a very easy conversation on who starts in goal tomorrow. So we've moved on to defenders, and Kwaku has gone Aspie, Silva, Rudiger. Any disputation?
No, although I'll be honest, Thiago Silva for the goal. End of the day, like, it wasn't great, but I don't know, like, someone of his experience, I felt like he kind of knew what Tillemans was going to do. So, like, he's a good defender, don't get me wrong, but I think he was also partially to blame. I think we need to get that in there as well.
Yeah, but then with that, with Christensen having his injury, who else are you getting there? Like Zuma at the minute, Zuma is a huge flight risk in that back 3.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know whether I'd go. I mean, if I had the opportunity, I'd probably. I can't see Rudiger getting benched, but I only see Zuma have his better games when he is partnered up with Thiago Silva. So I think Kwaku's probably got it bang on in regards to the back 3, unless you wanted to go all out, rest Aspie. Or maybe, I mean, James didn't have a poor game. Yes, that pass was atrocious.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He can do it. He had a good game. It was a very poor pass, and he, of course, obviously has to take some of the hit for that. But I mean, Reece James has shown himself that he could be a contender for those positions. So if Aspie didn't have the legs for today, I wouldn't mind doing that. And then obviously we'd have to discuss who the wing backs would be, and there's an obvious case for who I'm going to put forward. But that is fully depending on if Reece James would play there. But I think as it stands on paper, on historic paper as well, that back 3 sounds pretty sturdy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what else have we got? So we've got wing backs. I think so. If we were going to think of Reece James as an RCB this game, I can see obviously Ben Chilwell, and I'd quite like to see Callum Hudson-Odoi as a right wing back for this one. But I don't know. I mean, he didn't really. I don't know what time did he come on. When did he come on?
It was quite late. I think it was like 70th, 75th minute, something like that.
Yeah, around 70th minute.
There were some people coming for him, sort of. No one in particular, but there were just some people going up. Oh, he didn't have a good impact. They're part. They've got 11 people at the back with 15 minutes left of an FA Cup final. They're winning. You can't solely have a go at him for that. So I'd quite like to see him and Ben Chilwell play. Obviously, like, Ben Chilwell has been fantastic. My favourite signing, my favourite player at the minute. But not only that, he just, if there is any attempts of Castagna coming, like, running through, or even Mark Albrighton, because that guy can play anywhere. But when it comes to sort of, if he's getting attacked down that line, I don't think Marcus Alonso has got an ounce of hope 95% of the time. So even if Chilwell does have to sit back and then create a sort of hybrid back 4 for 60 minutes, I'd prefer him being part of that hybrid back 4 than a Marcus Alonso. And going forward, I think he offers more there as well, minus the goals. I think his balls into the box are normally a lot better than Alonso's. It's just, obviously you've got Alonso on set pieces is weirdly fantastic, but his crosses into the box are inferior to Chilwell's, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know about you guys.
His turning radius as well. He's just not athletic enough to be a wing back at a top club. Like, he gets a lot of flack, Marcus Alonso, and he's had some crucial moments as a Chelsea player, but he cannot be starting for a team that want to be challenging for the best trophies in the world. That left wing back, he's just not athletic enough, and that's just the facts of the matter. In isolated pieces of play, in terms of his ability in the air and from set pieces, he's great, but he's just not athletic enough to be a wing back for Chelsea, and that's just the facts of the matter, unfortunately. On the other side of things, I don't want to reveal it too early, but I want Callum to start a little bit further forward. So I'd have Reece James starting at right wing back for us against Leicester.
Okay. So and then who? Right. This is going to be probably the longest part of the conversation. Obviously, we've got the argument of the front three because no one's got that right yet. The two midfielders. You know, who are we getting? Who are we going to risk? Who do we want? Who is going to perform the best? You know, there's I believe Kovacic is still injured. He is back training. Well, he was back training for the cup. Was he on the bench, or have I just imagined?
I don't think he was on the. Was he on the bench?
No,
it wasn't. Yeah.
But you know, he's been posting saying he's back training. Tuesday still might be too early. But you know, let's say he is still injured because I don't know the ins and outs, but I haven't heard that he isn't. So I think I don't know. It's a tricky one. I don't think I can drop Jorginho. Like, you know, I think people have been giving him a hard time. You know, why did he point at Tielemans? Because he wanted Thiago Silva to close him down.
Yeah, he did.
You know, you can't blame Jorginho for that because because Jorginho's not going to close him down. If anything, he's going to foul him and put a free kick in that position. Yes, that's better than conceding. But Thiago Silva, there's a reason why Jorginho is pointing at him. It's not because he's lazy. It's because that is what Thiago Silva should have done.
But in fairness, I've always said Jorginho is quite lazy off the ball though. Like he's not a good like pressing midfielder. Like I've seen situations where I just feel like he could, even if he's gonna like foul them, I just feel like I'd prefer a foul than Tielemans just be able to run and then take the shot.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's both. I don't think you can isolate.
No, but I'm talking in the sense that there were some people coming for his head. Being
this
is all J5's fault, not at all. This guy is saying, "I'd be unreal, thank you." Kovacic wasn't playing because Tuchel thought it would be too much to have him in a big game at the final. That in itself is ridiculous, but thank you very much for that. But he was fit enough to play. So that is nuts. That is a nuts statement if he did say that. Thank you very much for that input. So if he is fit enough to play for tomorrow, I'm going Jovetic all the way.
See, I don't know. I feel like with football and with like results, I feel like that dressing room's shaking a little bit because of all the outside noise and stuff. I think Kante, in my opinion, just has to play all your big games. And I would actually go Billy Gilmour alongside him. I think like the ignorance of youth. I feel like he's a player that we've seen Billy play in big games and just rattle them off like they're nothing. He just plays his football. He's not scared. You always see Billy pick up the ball in very, very dangerous positions and plays the pass that he wants to play. He's not affected by the outside noise. And I feel like I love Georgie. He's great. He's one of my favorite Chelsea players. But in terms of a game like this, we've seen the midfield duo of Kante and Jorginho come off second best, if we're being honest with ourselves, against Leicester on the weekend. And I feel like having Billy Gilmour and having that youth, that kind of player that's going to play that pass, not second guess himself. I would love to see Billy Gilmour part of the Kante in midfield.
Okay, Alex, what about you?
I completely agree with Billy Gilmour. I'm worried about Kante. I think here's the thing: like it's not ideal that we're in the situation we are, where we have to take this game so seriously. Because ideally, we should have been in a position where top four was done and we could focus on the Champions League final. We are what we are. However, like it's one of those things where the Champions League final is the Champions League final. Like I'd be so upset if we put some of our better players in and then someone got injured or something, because then it just looks silly that we almost decided to do that. Because the situation is we get a draw, let's say, and then like the results of other teams are as important as our own results. So it's not like everyone's saying, oh, if we lose this game, that we're not going to get top four. We win the Champions League, we don't need to get top four. So it's just like just really depends on what the risk appetite is for Thomas Tuchel at the moment, like whether he wants to take the risk and put some big players in there, or whether he decides to go to Billy Gilmore, for example. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22, really. It's like you can't, it's a bit having your cake and eating it, really. Ideally, we want to secure top 4 and then go, right, we are desperate to win this cup, but if we don't, and I'm not saying I don't want this to happen, we have got a chance next year.
Yeah,
I understand that. However, if you're in the Champions League final, you're not going to not try and win it, are you?
Of course, yeah.
So I understand what you mean. So would we say maybe George I would say Kante is a flight risk considering his injuries. I think on his day that I don't think there's a better player to play midfield at the moment in the top 5 leagues in Europe. I think he is fantastic.
Agreed.
However, he has been injured this season, and he has. There's been comments by Tuchel saying, "Oh, he was tired after this game," and so on. So, would you guys be comfortable with a Jorginho Gilmore midfield with those conversations in place?
Yes.
See, I wouldn't. I would almost guarantee, like, if I was Tuchel, I'd be like, play Kante in this game. And whatever happens, no matter the circumstance, even if we win, lose, or draw, he's not playing against Aston Villa in the last game of the season. We should have enough in midfield to beat Aston Villa. I feel like give him that week off, and then so he's fresh for the next week for the Champions League final. But
what if he gets injured though?
That's just the risk you have with all players. Though,
but like, if he doesn't play Champions League final, we seriously will fucking struggle.
I know. But if we don't make the top 4, it would be disaster. And the thing is, we're going into the Champions League final, and granted we beat Man City before, but we are going in as firm underdogs. So if we win it, it'll be a shock. It'll be an upset. We kind of disrupted this whole Man City procession to being the most dominant team in the world. So I don't think we can go into this Leicester game with fear of players getting injured. Our priority, this whole kind of Champions League thing, we've manifested it by getting some amazing results against Porto, against Atletico, against Real Madrid. We weren't expecting to be there. Like Tuchel's goal when he came into Chelsea was to finish in the top 4. If he doesn't do that, I'm not calling for it, but his head could roll. So I feel like his priority is to get us into the top 4 no matter what. And the Champions League is the Champions League, and he'll have to figure that out when that game rolls around. It's a tough one. I know that I can tell that you're just like, we need to.
No, but mate, you make a lot of good points. It's just I'm just kind of so upset that we're in this fucking position. Like,
it's annoying, isn't it? It's so fucking annoying.
It's honestly, it's that Brighton game. I'm telling you, like, we just got a win there. We'd be fine now. It's not even Brighton. Any of the games where we drew or lost that we shouldn't have.
The Leeds game, like the West Brom game was a West Brom game, but like the Arsenal game, I can almost take that because I know they're Arsenal. There's Lewis. I know they're. What are you saying, man? You good?
Nope, this weekend has been shit, but we moved. It is what it is.
It's all right. We've done the shit bit. We've done the negative side. We're on the starting 11 now.
Oh, thank God. Oh, what 3 clowns are we putting in attack this time?
So far, right, we're having an argument right now of whether we're going. So we like Gilmore. Gilmore is the definite we want in midfield tomorrow.
First thing is Christensen starting.
We said based on is he fit enough? Because you probably know better than we do. If he is fit,
everyone's back in training for now, isn't he?
Yeah,
I thought he just didn't start the final for this match.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know, man. I feel like with his fitness, it's difficult. If he's fit, play him because obviously that penitentiary needs to open up. We need to lock up a couple of the man.
I need revenge, man. I will shamelessly throw them all in there, even if they've got an FA Cup on our heads.
Yeah. It's if he's fit, he has to play because he was looking like a reincarnation of Baresi, and he was looking like an absolute baller before he got injured.
Yeah, mad.
So if he's fit, he has to play. But this, like you were saying, Alex, before Luke jumped on, it's so fucking frustrating that we're in this position right now because we dropped points in silly games. And Tuchel's been amazing since he come in, and I can almost accept that Arsenal result because they are a big team in name anyway. So you can't ever go into a game expecting a guaranteed win against Arsenal, but it's the results against Brighton, it's the results against Leeds, it's obviously the result against West Brom that have put us in this position right now. And it's just we've now got 3 big cup finals before the end of the season.
Yeah,
Mhm.
big. So
One draw and we're in the mud.
Yeah. So we're going. So wing backs at the minute. We're still Reece James and Chile. Yeah, is that what we're settling on them? So then we've got.
Yeah.
What should we? So Gilmore and.
Wait. We're starting Gilmore.
Well, that's what we're thinking.
Yeah.
So Quaku brought it up, and
Lewis just wants to get revenge. But Lewis, we're thinking about the other games to come, mate. Like if Kante gets injured, like we need to rest him.
Bro, we gotta get top 4 first.
No, Lewis just wants revenge.
I want the Champions League final just like the next man, but we gotta get top 4 before we go in there with even more pressure on ourselves.
Yeah. I personally would go Gilmore and Kante. I feel like there'll be residue scars from the final if you go with Kante and Jorginho. And I don't want to put anything on Jorginho, but I feel like Gilmore going in there with kind of that exuberance and youth and just playing without thinking and kind of taking the ball to difficult places and making those key passes. I'd love to see Billy play in this game.
I ain't got anything against Gilmore, and like I'm with you as well. I think going straight to the top, for me, it's just the wrong game for it. Like it's too much of a question mark for me right now, and I get because Kovacic is just coming off an injury too, so it might not be the best to throw him in. And Jorginho and Kante is the same thing that we gave him in the last game. Jorginho and Kante, though, for me, weren't necessarily the problem with the way we played. It was obviously the howler Reece James pass that led to the goal and just the poor attack as always. Like Timo Werner with more dispossessions and dribbles completed in the match. Same old, the whole BS is the front three. And that's the whole reason why we are where we are. Not because of the defensive issues, not even because of our midfield, it's because of our attack. Yeah. So for me, I could see the same midfield, mainly because they aren't our problem. My thing is the front three. Other than Mount, I'd change the entire front three. Hell, maybe you could even make a question mark for if Mount starts this game. But the front three has to be all changed. Werner can't start because they'll play a low block against us. We know he's useless against that. Ziyech, I don't want him playing anymore either. Let me not even start on that guy. Havertz and Pulisic, please. We need Pulisic's directness. We need Havertz because he can at least get in tight spaces and do the most of those small spaces in the final third. And maybe Mount for his energy, if he still has it in him. If not, Hudson-Odoi.
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's the front three. I think it's Kai Havertz, I think it's Christian Pulisic, and I think it's Callum Hudson-Odoi. I think that blend, we haven't seen those three. I don't think seen those three start together. I think Callum hasn't been played in his best position for a while, and he came on there. I know he didn't do as much as we were hoping, but he kind of looked like the only player that was going to do anything in the last few minutes of that game. I'd just love to see Callum start this game. And Kai Havertz, if he ain't starting, there needs to be an inquisition because he has to start. He played well.
Well, with the what do you call it? With Callum Hudson-Odoi, like some people were gunning for him. Like I mean, people were gunning for a lot of players unfairly and unjustly, in my opinion, for that game. But you can't stick it on Callum Hudson-Odoi for not having a 10 out of 10 performance for 15 minutes of football. When the team that we're playing have gone 1-0 up in a cup final, of course they're going to defend for their lives. If he started originally, that he could have found potholes that other players couldn't, which is why it was a waste for him to come on that late. So I think we might actually all be in agreement of the front three of Cho, Havertz, Pulisic. Yeah.
That's what I would like to see. I think that's just like it'll give us more, and also like I've said it so many times, and I don't want to say Timo Werner, but it's got to the point now where it's just pure frustration, and it's like he's in his own head. Like there's just so many different variables that are contributing to him not being the player that we're expecting him to be. I feel like maybe some time on the sideline might do him some good, and seeing some other players perform might actually help him up his game as well.
I saw a stat yesterday that said he's got 2 goals in 2021 and Alisson Becker's got 1 goal in 2021. It's laughable, honestly.
Imagine if Timo Werner played for a team that wasn't Chelsea. The banter, the amount we'd be ripping into him if he wasn't a Chelsea forward. And like Chelsea fans have tried to convince themselves, he's like, nah, he's an inside forward. Nah, he's a false 9. Nah, he's a winger. No, we bought a bagsman that's not bagging. And like that is
fully,
what
man.
it is.
He's essentially like he's a crossbar hit away from being Rhian Brewster.
You know the worst part? We told ourselves he was a bagsman, and he weren't even a bagsman. It's just the Bundesliga. You get so many chances. He looked like it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not tooting my own horn or anything, but I knew he weren't clinical coming into the Premier League anyway. He just didn't think it'd be this bad. This is ridiculous. And it's such a catch-22 because he's so good at other aspects of the game to a point where he's nearly undroppable. But we brought him in to fucking finish.
You can't
finish.
You can't finish the dinner. But this is the thing is the peak thing is I think that Chelsea fans are grappling with is that it's not a Morata situation. When Morata, as soon as I saw Morata change when he went from number 9 to number 29, I was like, this man is finished. I was like, give you the number 9 shirt, he changed to number 29 for some arbitrary reason. You're done in my mind.
No, for me, it was get out of that number 9 shirt.
Yeah, it was his kid's birthday. I appreciate it, but I don't want to see you on Instagram doing lovey-dovey or whatnot. I want to see you score goals. I want to see you post your I want to see you do some things.
If you want to celebrate your kid's birthday, bag 29 goals in a season instead of fucking 9.
Please, that's what I want to see. But with Timo Werner, it's different. He's trying and he's speaking through his issues, and I rate him for that. I really, really rate him for that. But he's not scoring goals, and like that's what we need right now. If we had a striker who scored goals, we could go into a game, score 1 goal, and protect that lead because I'll back us to protect the lead. As soon as we go 1-0 down, which we could do in these big games coming up, whether it's against Aston Villa, whether it's against Leicester, or whether it's against Man City, do you back us to go and come from behind against Man City if you go 1-0 down? No chance in hell. No chance in hell. Because we ain't got a striker who can score goals.
I'm barely backing us to go 1-0 up at this point.
It's coming.
Bro, my confidence is in the mud after this week. And do you blame me?
No, I don't. And to be fair,
we threw a London derby against we gave them their first win at our ground in a decade. To throw the FA Cup final away. And now if we draw 1 match in 2, we've packed ourselves. This is bad. If we're in a really Liverpool are on such a high rise.
I know.
Right now.
That's a madness.
Everything that could be going against us when Alisson getting that last minute goal is just summing up our season completely.
Our whole Leicester game tomorrow just screams 0-0 and
it's and this is the thing about modern football is because whatever happens in between the boxes is crucial, but we all know that a team is defined by what happens in your box and what happens in the opposition's box. So can you score goals and can you keep and make saves? And why are we fucking about putting Kepa in goal for games against Arsenal and games against Leicester in the cup final? We know that if Mendy's in goal, I don't want to put this on Kepa. We've already talked about this. We're flogging a dead horse at this point. But we kind of know in our deepest of souls that if Mendy's in goal there's maybe a different outcome.
Yeah,
and we know that if we've got a striker at the other end of the pitch who can score goals, there's a different outcome. And that's what really matters. What happens in between the boxes is just contributing factors to what happens in the decisive end of the pitches.
That's what shocked me, to be fair. The amount of I stayed off Twitter for the game after this, apart from saying fair play to Leicester. But the amount of people that are now sort of backing Kepa in these times. I don't this is not me saying that was entirely his fault because fundamentally it absolutely wasn't. But literally, it is basic science that if he was an inch away from getting a hand to that ball, that means Edouard Mendy is 4 inches the other side of the ball. That is not me having a go. That is me literally stating the fact that Edouard Mendy is bigger.
It's. I feel like with Chelsea fans right now, there's an overwhelming sense of negativity. If we put it in context, we've lost 2 games. Obviously, they're 2 important games, but I still back us to finish in the top 4. But it's just like our season can go from 2 trophy wins in the top 4 finish to no trophy wins and finishing 5th. And that is an unacceptable season for a team that spent as much money as we spent in the summer. So that's why we're feeling so tense right now. But if you look at all the teams in the league this season, they've gone through runs like this in terms of losing 2 big games in a row. It's just how we bounce back from it. But there's a smell around Stamford Bridge of just, I don't want to say Spursy because it's not Spursy, but in big games, in crucial fixtures over the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've come on the wrong side of it. And people want to say that the game against Liverpool in the Super Cup is an arbitrary game. But a Chelsea team, a proper Chelsea, the Chelsea that I know, win that game, but we lose on penalties. The Chelsea team that I know beat Man City in the League Cup under Sarri. The Chelsea team that I know win these Community Shield games that we seem to be on the wrong side of. Like a Chelsea team that I know beat Arsenal in the FA Cup.
Beat Leicester
in the FA Cup.
Beat Arsenal in the FA Cup last year. Like it's becoming a habit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the one thing that I think that we can all smell, because we know that when we had Didier Drogba up front, we had John Terry in centre of our defence, we had Frank Lampard in midfield. We go into big games and we expect to win because we know Didier Drogba is definitely going to score. Going to cup finals now, we're praying and we're hoping and crossing all our fingers and toes.
Yeah. Do you think there's like a psychological problem with some of our young players that go into finals and just can't cut it? Because I think there's a problem for us.
I feel like
I've got a problem in one set, because one thing I think is the fan base is overhyping it. I'm hearing 4 losses in 19 and they want a stat pad Community Shields. The day we start taking the Community Shield serious as a trophy is the day we have declined as a football club. I don't ever want to hear it. Our record in the Community Shield is piss poor. Let it stay that way. You think I will ever lose sleep over that dinner play? Are you mad? Like, 1 in 4 is not good. I get it, but look, we gotta look at context in it. We threw the Carabao Cup final away because of that bullshit Kepa incident. Anthony Taylor tax in the FA Cup final. This one's the only one that really pisses me off. This one in 2017. Because 2017, we should have lost 6-1 if we're being honest. We got battered for 90 minutes. It was because we came off lifting the league title the week before. Everyone's hungover.
Yeah. But the 2017 one is it's where it started, because I'm like, we're on for a double here. Come on, let's secure this against Arsenal, these man. And then we didn't win that. And now when we go into finals, I'm just like, yo, are we expecting to win these games, or are we just going into it hoping? The one thing that I will say is that as soon as Mason Mount gets one trophy under his belt and he gets the taste of winning, he ain't going to let that go. He's going to let that man know that winning is the only thing. And I feel like what we're lacking at Chelsea at the moment, and what the best teams have, or what the teams that want to win have, is that player that everybody in the rest of the league hates. When we were winning trophy, Diego Costa, every man in the league hated him. You need a dickhead, like 100%. Look at Liverpool. We hate Mo Salah. Like, there's no reason why we should hate Mo Salah. We just hate him because he's good and he's clutch. We absolutely hate Bruno Fernandes. The only reason we hate Bruno Fernandes is because he scores important goals. He's a good player. When we had our Terry Lampard, everybody hated John Terry. Everybody hated Diego Costa. Everyone hated Didier Drogba. We ain't got a player that's a prick, and that's what we're missing right now.
Well, like you literally, even you go back further. Like, everyone hated Ian Wright. Yeah, because he's been like, he has admitted himself, but the people he used to play with got out and said that man did not stop talking for 90 minutes. Like, he used to piss them off, and which is you need someone up front to just jar.
Or like Thierry Henry, for example, everyone hated them.
Just to piss them off. Like,
that's
the whole.
You need those players that, like, as opposing fans, you hate them. When they retire, you can respect them and be like, fair play. But when they're playing, you want to hate them. And we've got nice boys on our team. Everybody's a nice boy.
Do you know what? That's such a good point. No one fears anyone on our team, if we're being honest.
Who we got? We've got Kante, the most liked football player in history.
that's it. Pound for pound.
He's a silent assassin. He's a silent assassin.
He is. But we need that bite. We need somebody that people hate. Like, you see Kai Havertz, when he gets roughed up, he's there moaning and bemoaning the referee. When Timo Werner gets roughed up, he moans the referee. We need someone to stick a foot in. The only person that engages in the dark arts is Tony Rudiger. And that's why I've really warned to him. I'm like, this guy don't take nonsense. You know what I mean? I love that. No shithousery at Chelsea at the moment. And that's an issue that we have in these big games.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Facts.
Fully. We got a couple of people asking, right, we'll discuss it. I don't know how much discussion we could get out of it. But we've got a couple of people, not just Patrick, but thank you for the comment. Kane to Chelsea. That's not happening, is it? Like, Levy's not giving us anything.
No, but I
don't know if you have heard the news, but apparently Harry Kane wants to leave Spurs, but he ain't coming Chelsea. I'm saying that, get that out of your heads. Like, Daniel Levy would even sell us oxygen, let alone an actual football. It's not happening.
It's not happening. But apparently, CK66, which is the company that his brother runs that represents him, there's been 3 approaches from. Well, there's been an approach from Man City, there's been an approach from Manchester United, and there's been an approach from Chelsea. But like Lewis said, like, I don't think Kane's going to do that, and I don't think Levy would, like you say, he wouldn't sell us oxygen, so he ain't going to sell us his much prized asset. I think he's going to Manchester, but he's a striker, the kind of striker that we need at Chelsea.
Yeah, because like, I don't know. I mean, I remember Lewis saying it when I first joined the channel, just on one of the other streams that I wasn't a part of. But like, I'm kind of sick of getting like prospects, buying in prospects, or this guy in 2 or 3 years
could be good.
Like, yeah, he'll be fantastic. I want a good striker now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want us going, in 2 or 3 years he'll be fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. I don't want that. We want a cash out striker. So the only way you got a bet on, you've got an Aka on, and you're just like, I'm going to let this run, or I can cash out and get the guarantee money right now. I want to cash out and get the guarantee money on a player like Lukaku. I want the guarantee of goal. I don't want to be, because even with Haaland, who nobody's going to turn a nose up at, with our record of bringing in big name strikers, would you be surprised if Haaland came to Chelsea and for some reason he just flopped? Because
do you know what? 100%. And I've had the argument with bare people at the minute. They're like, but if he comes, it'll be brilliant. He won't, because once again, it's a young person, and I know he's much younger. He's much younger than Timo, but it's a young person in a very, very good team. You've got Jadon Sancho on the wing. You've got Bellingham being fantastic. You've also got you're just a sick team in general. I can't name them all off the top of my head. If he comes to Chelsea, he could just be another person that was good in the Bundesliga.
But I don't think him and Timo are not like in the same league.
No, I'm not comparing those two.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. But the thing is though, you talk about fight though. Haaland has that fight though, so he would be a different type of player, because even though he might, like you say, the Bundesliga and Premier League obviously different levels, but like psychologically he's just more there. So if he has a dip in form, like I think he'd bounce back. Whereas a Timo just has a dip in form and then for 10 weeks has a week off. Basically, that's the problem we have with Timo.
We had to check his own trousers to see if he was still there.
It's mad. It's like, I don't even know who I want as a striker, because like now I'm just thinking about it. Like, would you be surprised if Lukaku comes and he gets like 9 goals in the league? Like with Chelsea, just got such a bad record with strikers. Like going back to Kezman and then Shevchenko and then Torres.
Torres. Oh my God.
Literally, we got him here. Like, we've actually got him stat padded here. Here. We got this. That is our history.
Yeah.
And I'm not being funny. Like, whoever made that, I'm sure it can only be Lewis or Sammy. But whoever made this, that you could add another 2 or 3 onto either side of that.
Get that fraud off the left out of here, man.
The way he got that loaded. And the thing is, like a striker like Shevchenko, fair play, he had turned 30, so maybe he's on the wrong side of his prime. But he is a player that comes with so much esteem, had played in multiple Champions League finals, had scored goals at the highest level for so long. And comes to Chelsea, and maybe him coming in made Didier Drogba up his game. It did. But he struggled to settle in. So like bringing in a striker from a different country that we don't know can score goals in the Premier League is gonna Kezman, Pato, Falcao, etc.
Chris Sutton, man. Chris Sutton was an absolute baller. He comes to Chelsea, he did nothing.
It's peak right now. But like, I feel like as a fan base at Chelsea, we are very spoiled, because we have been, our trophy cabinet has been laden with silverware for the last decade and a half, and I feel like we're losing our minds a bit, because we are going through a point in our history where we're not going into big games knowing that we've got the players to win those games. It's kind of a transition. But we are in the Champions League final, let's not forget. And top 4 qualification is in our own hands. So by anybody's standard, if you ask Man, maybe the league position aside, if you ask Man City at the beginning of the season who really want to win the Champions League, and you say to them, you've got 2 games left, and the top 4 qualifications are in your hands and you're in the Champions League final, would you take that? I think Man City would probably take that. I don't think there's a team in this country that wouldn't take what position we're in right now. We've got to have some perspective on that as well.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
But on the negative side, not that I'm like necessarily agree with it entirely, why now are we seeing dips in form? Why at the very top? Why did we not see it halfway through the season, where although it still would have affected us in the same way, it's now 2 L's in a row. You haven't scored a goal for 180 minutes, and you've got apparently a fantastic striker up front for the people that are giving time. Yeah, but like literally, if I worked at a building site, right, and I went, every one of my 10 houses I build stay up, I'm going to get fired. So I don't see what the difference it is with strikers. If you need to be banging. If you're good enough, you need to be banging week in, week out. You can't just decide when to score.
Yeah. Well, I think we can nick one of Lewis's phrases in terms of we are charity FC. Like I just don't have full trust in this team. Do you know what I mean? Like before, I'd be like, Chelsea are so clutch. When it comes to it, we're gonna win the games. We're gonna win. Now at the moment, man, I just don't really. I can't fully back us in every single situation. Like, and it makes big games kind of worrying for us. And maybe we're overreacting because we've lost to Arsenal and Leicester on the bounce, but we're just something just doesn't seem kind of right. But again, like I was saying before, this is a position that a lot of teams will be envious of being in. So we just got to count our blessings that we're in the Champions League final. It doesn't happen that often. Last time we were in it was 9 years ago. So let's make the most of it. Let's go and win our last 2 games of the season. Let's qualify for the Champions League. And then hopefully when the Champions League rolls around, it's like a free hit. It's like we're underdogs. Let's embrace being underdogs and let's harness the spirit of 2012.
Yeah. It's like, even to this point, guys, and I'll push it out to everyone. If Werner comes in clutch tomorrow and like bags a brace and has a really good game, like is it like live and let live and like forgive and forget, or is it still he's got to do better overall?
Yeah, the silence is deafening. we just need to see goals, man. We just I don't want to hear team over. I don't want to hear goal contributions. Those words, I do not want to hear it. We only talk about goal contributions with a striker when they're not scoring goals. Goal contributions is a fallacy. It's a thing that's been made up in the last few years by people who are like insisting on talking about stats. I measure strikers, I don't know, greatness on the amount of goals that they score. So this whole goal contribution nonsense, I don't want to hear it. We don't talk about Harry Kane. We don't talk about goal contributions. We're like, this man's got 22 league goals. The assists and the running and the mileage and the XG. I don't care about these second or third level stats. Just give me the goals, man. That's what you're supposed to do for us.
The only time I don't mind is if the team benefits. You know what I'm saying? Like if we go and win a big game because he does something that contributes to a goal, fine. It's not ideal, but but he's not doing that. He's contributing to goals in games that like aren't critical to us. So that's the problem I have with Timo. So yeah, no, I don't forgive him at all. Like we spend too much money on him to be a flop, basically.
Yeah. No, I hear that. I'm just stuck in two minds because, like, I mean, yes, he did score a goal. He scored the Champions League goal against Madrid, and it is one of the goals that sent us through. But let's be real, like, you know, I know you've got to be there and stuff. That realistically, that's an unlucky Havertz shot. Do you know what I mean? But like, and of course he had to be there, and I'll hold it out, and like I'll praise him, and I went on to Lewis's phone in. I apologized to Fata and and all of that stuff. But you know, man, like you're right. There's only so many times that the Don lives offside, and like when you've got that much pace, you can easily give someone like Soyuncu or Evans when he was on, and I hope he does actually get better. I hope that wasn't too serious for him because he's been a fantastic player for them. You know, you can give players like that 2-3 yards if you're that far, surely.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it happen. Like he's always playing so tight on them. Soyuncu's got, he's got like the turn of a donkey, man. He's a slow defender. But but we played that game right into his hands because we sat back and we didn't really beat him in most crosses. But like on the floor, he's pretty slow, and we didn't capitalize on it really.
And also like the lack of goals or lack of like a focal point up front just affects the rest of our team. Because you look at the way like Lukaku makes Lautaro Martinez a better player. You look at the way Haaland makes Thorgan Hazard and Jadon Sancho and Marco Reus better players. Like we've got a lot of wingers or whatever they are, wide players. They're in limbo right now. How good is Christian Pulisic? I believe he's a top player. How good is Hakim Ziyech? How good is Callum Hudson-Odoi? How good, because we haven't got a striker, a focal point who can take the responsibility of scoring those goals, it kind of puts the emphasis and onus on those wide players, and we expect a lot from them. Maybe things that they can't give us. But because we haven't got somebody to score the goals, we're expecting Pulisic to pop up on goals, expecting Hudson-Odoi to come on with like 20 minutes left and pull rabbits out of his hat. Like I feel like not having a striker affects the team massively, man. It affects the defense because the defense knows as much as we can keep a clean sheet, but we ain't going to score. And that's I feel like strikers having the number 9. That's why they're worth the most money in the world, because the premium they give you in terms of goals is invaluable. Goals win you games, and we haven't even got like a Bruno Fernandes type of midfielder where we can. None of our midfielders give us goals. Georgie was almost a cert from the penalty spot up until this season. They start fluffing his lines. Kovacic ain't going to give you a good goal. He gets nosebleeds when he's in the penalty area. And Kante would give a goal here or there, but he's not going to give you a goal. Have you seen Billy Gilmore score yet? So, like, it's just, we haven't got goals from our midfield. Kurt Zouma will give you a goal here or there, but he's not even starting for us at the moment. Nobody scores goals for Chelsea, man. It fucking killed my heart.
Yeah.
Been the same for years.
Yeah.
Since Conte's first season.
Do you know? I'm actually looking at who's our top goal scorers. Tammy's got 6 goals.
Yeah, he wasn't even on the bench.
And Mason's got 6 goals. So Tammy's got to be playing. If he's got 6 goals, he's got to be playing. Like,
it's wild. It's wild.
That's the thing. Like,
there's people coming out and defending like players that we're giving stick, and there's people that are giving so much stick to Tammy Abraham. I don't know how you. Firstly, how can you give a guy that isn't even on the bench stick?
Yeah,
But then it's like, but you know, like, why is he not like? If he plays and has a stinker, fair enough. That's why he hasn't played. But if he comes on and bags a goal that could potentially like win you the game, you know, finishes 1-0, we get the 3 points, fantastic. Everyone's happy. Like, I don't see how you can grill him before he even gets an opportunity.
I agree.
Imagine if Thomas Tuchel starts Tammy Abraham tomorrow. I think Chelsea Twitter would lose their mind. They'll go into meltdown an hour before kickoff. If Tammy Abraham starts the game against Leicester tomorrow, that'll be wild. And I would love to see it, because right now, I've said it before, if we let assets like Tammy Abraham and Fikayo Tomori walk out the door for less than market value because of miscommunication from managers, from the hierarchy, from the board to the players, I'm going to be fuming. There's going to be questions to be answered, because we saw what Tomori did. He's doing his own penitentiary out in Italy. You see what he did to Ronaldo. You see what he's looking like. I think
there was a funny. I think he jumped 9 centimeters higher than Ronaldo did for that header.
And for him to be dropped after a dodgy game against Bournemouth with no communication from Frank is insane. And the fact that there's a buyback option for £27 million for a player like Fikayo Tomori is wild. And Tammy Abraham, who was our top goal scorer last season, will probably walk out the door for less than market value because he's just not, because Emerson is getting selected in squads ahead of him. Are you mad? I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? We can't score goals. Our top goal scorer is not even in the squads. What's going on?
Really, man. And I mean, on the subject of that, quickly, I really hope we don't sell Tomori, because I think he's the future of Chelsea. Defensively, you know, Thiago Silva. If we're lucky, we've got another year in him. Yeah, and then I don't personally entirely trust the back three of Zuma, Rudiger, and Christensen week in, week out. Mainly because I think Kurt Zuma is, without a doubt, the weak link of those three anyway. But you know, I think I want Tomori back, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can see us going to market to buy though.
Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling we will.
Yeah, apparently we put the feelers out on the lift and got resoundingly rejected. I do think we'll go buy a centre back. To be fair, I feel like that's I think Tomori is almost already just an AC Milan player. The way he talks in interviews, the way the narrative is around him, I think he's as good as gone, which is fucking sad, man. But I think the overriding thing for Chelsea is just go out and get a striker that can score some goals, because we are struggling. And like Lewis says, we've been struggling since Conte's first season at Chelsea.
God, but what a shit show. We're gonna have to buy someone spending so much money on Timo. We're just gonna look like a fucking shit show. Like, whoever's head of recruitment, he's fired. I'm telling you.
Yeah, get Leicester City's one, because they've been doing their job for years.
Yeah,
years. Like Tielemans just looking like the best player in the people play for Man. people play for manager know about Tielemans, but it seems like nobody in the board or the hierarchy of all these top 6 sides knew about that, because he went to Leicester basically. Tielemans going to Leicester, I feel, is almost like when we got N'Golo Kante off the back of that horrendous season where Mourinho got sacked and Arsenal needed a centre midfielder. Arsenal had Champions League football and we got N'Golo Kante for like 30 million. I was like, that is a steal and a half.
Yeah,
and that's how I feel about Tielemans going to Leicester for that amount of money, because look, the scouting departments of these top 6 clubs, if you look at the signings or the records of the signings that they brought in over the last maybe 5 years, has been piss poor, man. The recruitment's been piss poor.
Yeah, exactly. Right, guys, we're going to sort of wrap it up now, but any other business before we talk about score predictions tomorrow from anybody?
Oh, man.
You don't want to know my score prediction. You don't.
Okay, we'll start. Go on, Lewis. What is your score prediction tomorrow?
I'm saying, as a Chelsea fan, 1-0. If you're going to ask me my honest opinion, 0-0. And we just pack ourselves.
Fair.
I don't have confidence, man. It's been drained this week. I won't even lie to you. Chelsea have to put it back in me.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Where are we? Alex, what are yours?
Do you know? I don't know. I literally. It depends who we start. Depends how. I'm gonna go 1-1, but I'm not gonna lie. I can't see us scoring at the moment. I don't know why. Like, it just concerns me.
Yeah, fully. Kwaku.
If we go into this game if we come out of this game without a win, it will tell me all I need to know about the squad in terms of mentality. Like we've touched on in the video, Leicester drained themselves in the final, and they would have been celebrating the day after. I'm predicting a 2-0 Chelsea win, and I'm expecting the performance, and that's what we deserve as fans.
Cool.
Yeah,
Fair.
I think 2-1 us. And I think if we don't get at least a 10, like an 8 out of 10 performance from about 4 or 5 players, like that, I would consider genuinely. If we have an absolute worldie of a performance and we secure top 4 and we give it a fucking good go in the Champions League final, I would consider that as much of an apology as we're going to get from not only our board but the players, because for the FA Cup final, because that was. You know, we can talk about whose fault the goal was all we want, but for 90 minutes, that was a poor game of football from us. So I hope they redeem themselves with a good performance. So I'm, if my positive hat on, I'm going to go 2-1. Who's going to score that? I do.
Yeah, I was going to say you two. Who's going to score these 2 goals? Are you talking about?
Mendy. Mendy's coming up.
Mendy. He's going to get a header, yeah?
Yeah, Mendy with a 95th minute header.
Show
I don't know. I think if we go in our sorry, Quaker, go on.
Did he
Yeah, I was
freeze?
going to say that there's a comment there about the Daniel Amate thing. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Whereabouts is that? Let me try to find it.
Draxler.
Ah, okay.
Well, that should be motivation in itself. Like the disrespect that from Daniel Amate to throw the pendant like that. If the boys ain't riled up and want to get revenge after that, then
yeah, that was a sideman thing to do. Actually,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
Like when you deep. Hang on, where are we? Where's the lineup?
Yeah,
just slap that out one more time.
Bro, Conte might actually be leaving Inter. Mad.
Oh, is it?
Apparently.
Yeah, that's me.
Rumors are getting hotter.
Yeah, big up. Why Chile didn't start is beyond me, man. Let me see. Amati. He didn't play. Well, he wasn't in the starting 11, was he? Let's have a browse.
Can't remember.
Where are we? Amati. No, the dickhead didn't even play, and he's lobbing our flag on the floor. We have to beat him.
I ban him, man. I'm not getting pissy over Marty. This guy wouldn't even be at Leicester City if Chelsea didn't sign N'Golo Kante. He got brought in as the next N'Golo Kante, flopped embarrassingly, and he got shipped out for Ndidi, and now he's just a bench warmer. Who cares? It's the equivalent of Conor Gallagher picking up the Europa League and screaming, "Thank you, Arsenal," in Baku. I don't care.
That is true. Guys, one from Rayan. Question for all of us. Lewis, we'll go with you. Do you think Aspie is a real captain or leader, or should he be given the captain as Thiago Silva is in the team? Just a question. Don't shoot the messenger. Is Aspie? I think Aspie's worthy. More so.
He's a good captain. Everyone's getting pissy at his post-match interview. People smile when they're under pressure. Sometimes their first reaction is to smile. So people getting pissy that he was saying in a smiley face. You don't know what's going on in his head, man. Stop trying to assume shit. But that wasn't directed at you, Ryan. That's directed at people getting at him. Yeah. I think the stuff of Aspie. The first season, I got people getting at him as a captain because there were moments where he didn't do his job correctly, in my opinion. Ever since then, I think he's a great captain.
Yeah. Also, I think what people do forget, this is, that's an interview being conducted in Azpilicueta's third, second, fourth language. If his body language gives off that he's happy in English, that it's unfair to judge him on that. He's hearing about, he's awkward. It's a nervous thing. It's what people do. And literally, like Lewis said, but he's conducting it as well as he can. He's a professional person. He doesn't want to, what do you want him to do? Go on and slap the interviewer because they're angry. He did the best he could. I think
you've got to judge him on his performance on the pitch. To be honest, I think everyone needs to just understand. Interviews are interviews. No one's media trained perfectly, are they?
No, not at all. Especially professional football players. It's not their job to conduct a fantastic.
No, of course, yeah.
It's and I think Aspie's proved himself tenfold. Was Saturday his best game in a Chelsea shirt? Not by a long shot, But if he's as strong as we all claim he is, he'll move on to the next one, and hopefully within 24 hours we'll actually have a game on our hands.
I'm interested, boys. Who do you think was our best player on Saturday?
Reece James. Even regardless of the howler for the goal, probably Reece.
He is essentially the reason we didn't hear Jamie Vardy's name for an hour.
We were loud. I don't get why people were saying we weren't.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's a stereotype with all you go to Stamford Bridge, it's quiet. Not every time I've been, man.
No, it's not quiet. I agree.
That's a myth. I caught the back end of what you guys were saying. Were people questioning Aspie then? People saying is Aspie is that
no, it was just Rayan was just putting something that came out after Aspie's post-match interview. People were calling for his captaincy and stuff. It wasn't his opinion. He was just bringing it up. Yeah, and they think Silva should be captain.
Nah, nonsensical. Aspie, if we go and win the championship, he's on the precipice of being an actual, the only one in the squad, maybe along with Mason Mount, who I reckon has got the chance to win the Chelsea legend. If Aspie wins the Champions League at Chelsea, he goes down as an absolute legend. He replaces Branner in the all-time Chelsea 11, and he's already one of my favourite ever Chelsea players. So I don't know how anyone can question Aspie. He's a legend.
Yeah. But we saw the threat. Everyone's saying Ben Chilwell played well. We saw the threat he posed, and this isn't even me being biased. The threat he had. But albeit, it's unfair to sort of judge him on Marcus, compared to Marcus Alonso, because at the time Ben Chilwell came on, we were actually trying for the goal. It was classic FA Cup football. It was going to be 0-0 until someone scored, and then they were going to park. They were going to park the bus, and the other team were going to come at them for the next half an hour. It was just unfortunate it was on the other side.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm so baffled why we started Alonso as well. Let's get back to this. I think Thomas got it wrong.
Yeah, exactly, and I think it's good for a lot of people that were in it. I'm not saying any of us were, but it's good for us to be sort of knocked into sense and get out of the honeymoon phase just before it starts to affect us a bit more. Because there's a lot of there was always going to be a dip. We had this exact same mentality when it came to Lampard. and when we were first in the league for 12 minutes or however long it was. You know, and then, you know, Lampard was a realist enough to go, there will be a dip in form. Don't worry. I'm just pissed off that it's happening now with Tuchel.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, guys, any other business, or I'll wrap it up.
Someone turn up tomorrow, because if we draw, I'm going to be fuming. Fans are turning up. I won't be there. Obviously, watch along settings, but yeah, someone turn up. I beg, because if we flop top 4 from here after spending 250 million, the summer is going to be long. I can't be asked for it.
Fully. Yeah, guys, like Lewis just said, if you're not at the game, please join whoever is joining Lewis on the watch along. That will be just before the kickoff time, which I believe is 8:15. So we'll be around sort of 10 to 8 o'clock. If anyone has a spare ticket going, I can't find one for love nor money. So shout me on Twitter. And if you don't have a spare ticket, just follow me on Twitter anyway, because we've got to get the followers going up. And again, please follow Kwaku's personal, follow his We Talk Football podcast, because we are both new to this, so we're still trying to set up and all of that sort of stuff. So we're going to keep going. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow Alex. Alex, are you on socials and things like that?
Yeah, I've got Twitter, but don't worry, I'm come. Yeah.
if you want to, he might be being humble. He might, if you want to, follow Alex as well.
Yeah.
Guys, I'll catch you all later. Thank you very much for joining us. Good luck to Chelsea at 8:15 tomorrow. Let's hope it's better than the next one. And as always, subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV. Please like this video before we shoot off. And as always, up the Chelsea.